Lending protocols are one of the most commonly used things in the crypto space. As of today, they've already got over $52 billion worth of crypto locked in them. Now, if you want to know what a lending protocol is and how you can earn over 25% on your US dollars through them, then stick around, as in the next few minutes I'll explain how they work and walk you through this process. So the crypto space massively evolved when smart contracts were introduced in 2015 with the release of Ethereum. Smart contracts allowed developers to build complex financial applications and gave rise to decentralized finance, or DeFi. Right? ETHLend was one of the early DeFi projects founded back in 2017 by this guy, Stani, and it was created at a time where people were still trying to get to grips with what was possible with smart contracts, right? So ETHLend's first version was really awkward to use and looked a little bit like this. However, they've continuously upgraded and evolved and eventually rebranded to Aave and pioneered the idea of a lending protocol, right? And today they look a lot more modern and hold over $20 billion worth of assets. This is, the landing page for Aave. Now, Aave's lending protocol has been such a huge success that there have since been hundreds of other clones as such replicated and recreated for different chains. DeFi Llama, which is a great aggregator for data on DeFi, has its own category for lending protocols and estimates over $52 billion of crypto locked among all of them across all chains. That's a lot of money, right? A lending protocol is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a DeFi protocol that allows you to lend and therefore also borrow money. DeFi protocols work in an automated way through smart contracts, so you're not actively lending to an individual, you're lending to the protocol itself, the smart contract code, with the protocol setting varying lending and borrowing rates. And we'll look a little further into this in the next section. Since Aave is the largest lending protocol by value locked, we'll look at it primarily, but these protocols have expanded onto lots of different chains. So we'll also look at Kamino, which is the largest on Solana blockchain. So how do they work? When you're still new to crypto Web3, lending protocols seem like a really hard concept to grasp. But once you've gotten a little bit more hands-on and are used to DeFi, they are actually one of the simplest DeFi protocols to make sense of. You can picture them a lot like borrowing money from a bank, right? You can borrow, say, $100,000 to buy a new house from a bank, but you'll need to put collateral down. In this case, with a mortgage, you'd put the house as collateral. So the bank will repossess the house, the collateral, if you don't repay that loan. Plus, every month you need to pay back some interest on top of the money you've borrowed until you've paid it all off, right? In Aave, you do the same, except you're not dealing with a bank, you're dealing with the protocol. And the protocol allows you to take out the loan in any of the currencies that it supports for a given market, where these tokens have been lent to the protocol by someone else. So ultimately, it's a peer-to-peer system. There's other people lending, and you borrowing, etc. So for example, you may lend one ETH, say that's valued at $3,500, and then use that as collateral to take out an over-collateralized amount of 3,000 USDT. With that USDT, you can spend it as you like, right? And that example is like the ETH is like the house you're collateralizing, and the USDT is the loan that you're getting. And you'll need to keep paying interest on that $3,000 until you sell it back, at which point you could take the collateral out as well. Sell it back, I mean, you put it back in, right? You return the money to the protocol. Now, if the price of ETH goes up, say to $5,000, you still have that one ETH there, right? It's still, the collateral's still there. And it's earning interest because they give you interest on what you've supplied. And when you're ready, you can pay back the interest on the USDT and pay off the 3,000 USDT loan itself. However, if that ETH goes down in value, then you may fall below a minimum collateral threshold and be liquidated, meaning Aave will take all your collateral and that makes up for the $3,000 you've taken in USDT from them, right? So they don't end up out of pocket. Now, that's just like a safety mechanism, but the main way that lending protocols make money is through the spread, i.e. the difference that they give on lending and receiving. So if you were to, for example, lend 10%, lend USDT, they might give you 10%, and then if you borrow USDT, they might charge you 15%. That 5% margin is where they make their money. right? Now that might still sound a little confusing, so follow along and I'll show you with the actual protocol. But if you want to set up your first crypto wallet so you can start earning yield on lending protocols and take part of the global crypto economy, plus access over $1,900 worth of courses entirely for free, then click in the link in the description. Cool. So let's take a look at lending on Aave. Aave is already on its third version, it's V3, and they support several Ethereum compatible L2 chains. So the first thing you need to do is select the chain you want to lend on, right? So let's go back here, let's open the app. And we'll, you can see that let's look at the Ethereum market here. You can see any of the markets from this drop down. Now, here we can see that the Ethereum market allows me to supply up to 4 assets into the protocol, but I can borrow up to 30 different assets that other people have supplied, right? Now, the Ethereum market's there's too much going on here, and Ethereum is more expensive a chain to use, so we'll just stick with Base for now, right? Because Base has less assets available here, and the transactions are cheaper. Now, you can see here that the interface is actually pretty simple. On the left side, you get the different currencies that you can supply to, and the right-hand side, you get the ones that you can borrow from. But remember, you can only borrow if you've already supplied, because the platform needs to over-collateralize what you'll borrow. So if we run through an example of me supplying around 0.05, about $20 worth of ETH, if I supply that, I'll have to sign the transaction. I highly recommend people use Pocket Universe. It explains what's happening in the transaction. And then if we confirm on MetaMask. So this is me putting the money into the lending protocol, and they're going to give me 1.8%, 1.88% APY, right, annually. This number is constantly changing. So although it says that now, it might change later. Great. What they actually do as well is Aave gives me an Aave token that represents this debt as such with Aave. So you can see here, if I click on add to wallet, it's called A base wrapped ETH. And yeah, I can add that to my MetaMask. And this is the token that I come back, that will earn the interest, and then I can later come back and claim from the protocol, right? So that's supplying, that's lending, right? Now for borrowing, since I've supplied the collateral, I can say I want to borrow some USDC. It's like USDT, it's the Circle version, it's a stablecoin. Let's say I'm going to do 15, which is close to my maximum. Acknowledge the risks. Now it's telling me that this amount is very close to me being liquidated, and we'll discuss that in a second. If I borrow here, let me just take a look at this. It succeeded. I just needed to refresh, right? So we can see here that the amount I've borrowed is 15, and the amount I've supplied is around $19, $20. So the interesting thing here is that since I've borrowed so close to my collateral limit, I'm very close to being liquidated, right? There's this health factor here, which if it goes below 1, they will liquidate me. And you can see here, borrow power use, I've almost hit 100%, right? So what happens now is if this ETH value drops, then I will likely be liquidated. So I don't ever recommend people, getting too close to this liquidation, right? It shows here, if it hits 83% of if what I'm borrowing is 83% or above of what I've supplied, then it just auto liquidates to protect the protocol from getting money stolen, right? So the way to solve this would be to either supply more ETH by hitting here, or repay what I have, what I've borrowed, right? Now, you've seen how to lend and borrow on Aave, so it's clear when you borrow, you need to pay off that interest. However, when you lend, you're actively earning interest on the money you're supplying. Therefore, earning yield through a lending protocol is as simple as supplying money, okay? So let's take a look at this, first of all, let me repay this loan. Okay, great. It's repaid. And now let me actually withdraw that ETH as well. Okay, so we're back to, a clean slate here. Right. Now, at today's rates, the base market will give, wow, quite a significant 9.47% if I supply USDC, right? Now, if we look at maybe another market, say Polygon, they're giving even higher returns, 12.69%. So, different markets will give different returns and these will vary over time. But the important thing to note is, getting approximately 10% on US dollars is a very good return. If you were to put down, say, $10,000 at the end of the year, you'd have made 1,000. If you say have a lot of money and you've put down $1 million in the lending protocol, then you may make $100,000 by the end of the year, right? So there's a significant return that you can get from relatively simple action of just supplying the lending protocol with your stablecoins. And stablecoins are honestly generally the best for earning high yield. As you see here, ETH, you'll earn like 2%, and different coins will generally not give such a high percent. If your focus is on earning yield with a lending protocol, then I highly recommend using a stablecoin and finding the right protocol, right? So as you can see here, Aave is around these numbers. But these numbers are constantly varying, right? Like there's a tweet here where earlier in the month, it was giving huge numbers on huge returns on USDC and USDT, right? So the numbers are constantly updating based on internal parameters of the protocol. Now, on Kamino, which I mentioned earlier, we would look at. This is a Solana-based lending protocol. You can see the numbers are kind of different. So if we go here and look at USDT, USDT here is giving 21%. That's pretty significant. PayPal's USD stablecoin is giving 21% as well, and USDC is 15%. So these numbers vary. I've seen them be 25%, I've seen them be over, and I've seen them be below, right? But the point is, these are pretty significant returns. Once again, if you're putting down $100 million, you could be making $200,000 in a year, right? So lending protocols have a great earning potential for money that you want to leave parked somewhere and earning yield. Now, nothing in life is without its risks, though, right? No lending protocol is giving out money without getting something in return. So the first thing to take into consideration is that, as we said before, the APYs are variable. So you may be getting a great return today, and then find a few weeks or days down the line that it drops massively, and ultimately it was a bit of a pointless exercise. But the bigger risk, to be honest, comes from the old saying in crypto, which is not your keys, not your coins. Any money you leave on the lending protocol, you can easily pull out. As you saw there before, I supplied ETH and pulled out, without much, didn't take any time. However, ultimately, it's not in your custody anymore during that period of time. That money is now in the protocol's custody. Protocols are a piece of automated code that obey certain rules, but these rules can be subverted by either a malicious hacker or even a malicious developer who wrote the code in the first place. So any money you leave on the lending protocol is subject to the risk of being hacked and therefore entirely stolen. However, in the case of both Aave and Kamino, which we just took a look at, they have been around for a long time. And the longer the protocol survives without being hacked or being an outright scam, the less likely of either happening. And there's a lot of money behind Aave. There's $20 billion. They do everything to make sure that that money is safe and secure, right? So at least with those two, Aave and Camino, you can assume that you're relatively safe for any money you put in there. But to conclude, now you know how to earn yield by supplying money to a lending protocol. It's as simple as it is effective, especially with stable coins, as we showed. Nonetheless, it's not for everyone. It really depends on your goals and the sorts of risks you're willing to take. But it's a good thing to know and understand, as the more you know about the space, the more informed decisions you can make with your own money. And as I said earlier, if you want to set up your first crypto wallet so you can start earning yield on lending protocols and take part in the global crypto economy, plus access over $1,900 worth of courses entirely for free, then click in the link in the description and I'll see you there.